Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sex is Medicine, your number one resource for holistic sex education. I am your host with you once again on this beautiful Thursday evening, Miss Devi Ward Erickson, and I am delighted to share yet again another intimate conversation about sexuality, spirituality, pleasure, and personal growth. I am joined this evening by my lovely colleague, friend, and graduate from our Institute of Authentic Tantra Education, Ms. Sequita Whitfield, who is a certified authentic Tantra practitioner, ACS certified sexologist, and just wisdom carrier extraordinary. Thank you for joining us this evening, Sequita.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. It's my
Yeah.
honor. Yeah.
Such a pleasure. So tonight we're going to talk about Tantra and menopause. And I'm so grateful to have you contributing to this conversation, Sequita, because this is a question and a topic that we get a lot of interest in through the Institute. We get a lot of questions through the Institute. There's a lot of, it's a topic of conversation. People want to know more about it. They want to know if Tantra can help them alleviate menopause or help them address some of the symptoms of menopause. So I'm so grateful to be having this conversation with you because this is one of your areas of focus and speciality based on your life experiences. So let's just go ahead and dive right in, not keep our audience waiting another minute. So let's first outline and define what menopause is. What is that exactly? What are we looking at? What are we ladies looking at for our future years here?
Oh, wow. Thank you again. First of all, let me just say off the bat, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. This is all my own research and information and life experience. So menopause is technically, professionally, medically classified as a cessation of your menses, of your period, for up to at least a minimum of 12 months or longer. And so there's three stages. There's perimenopause, there's menopause, then there's postmenopausal. Perimenopause is that phase of a woman's life where the hormones start to change imperceptibly. And so you may be experiencing things that you don't relate as being menopausal, like motor skills. You start to drop things, bump into things. You get a little mental fogginess. You may feel like you're just overworked, fatigued. So those are just some minor symptoms of perimenopause.
Okay, so let's pause there and dig into that a little bit because that's number one. I didn't know there were three stages of menopause. Like, I don't think that most of us are aware that there's peri, and some people know that there's peri, but then there's menopause and then there's postmenopausal. So there's these three distinct stages, and it sounds like they all have their own symptoms and their own kind of issues.
Exactly. And because of my own history, I had a history of fibroids. And so I had been in communication with my gynecologist for many years about symptoms of perimenopause because fibroids have a tendency to grow during perimenopause. And that was my experience.
Okay, so that's important information that I had no idea. So fibroids are a fairly common occurrence, particularly for women of color. And the fact that they'll grow during perimenopause is a big deal. And then also you were mentioning some of these other symptoms like dropping things or brain fog or like our motor skills. So that's something that I've noticed in the past, 2 or 3 years, like particularly the brain fog, which I dealt with keto diet. Low carb diet, but like the dropping things or memory lapses, like I can't quite form the thought or get the word. I'm like, what's happening to my brain? Am I like smoking too much weed or what's going on here?
Well, okay, maybe, but no.
I don't smoke that much weed, so it could have been that.
Yeah, and that's just something that I had to do on my own research because I was starting to feel like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Yes.
And so, and with perimenopause, because the fibroids growing, then my periods started to change. They got heavier, they got more painful. So for me, one of the options was to have the fibroids removed. So I did, and that helped for a few years and slowed down the menopause for me. I was about 43.
Okay.
And then So I had a pretty good rough, pretty good easy going for a few years. And then I would turn to 50-ish, menopause hit for me. Yeah. And that was even more. Then the hot flashes, then the sweats, then and so let me explain that. Before the full menopause, perimenopause, my period started to become further and further apart. So they would go 6 months, 9 months, and then I'd have another period. And then I got to count again, because I wanted that full 12 months. I was done.
It's like your days sober, your days off of your months off.
Exactly.
Your chip, your 1 year chip.
Yes, I had to, damn, I relapsed. Okay, so but once the full 12 months came, I had already started the hot flashes, which for me were very, very intense. Some women do not have hot flashes at all. Some women don't have any symptoms, very, very minor symptoms that they just breeze right through. They stop their period and they're done. They don't even notice, the mood swings or the depression or the fatigue or the night sweats. They don't notice there's so many, the difficulty concentrating, weight gain. Oh my God. Yeah. I gained 20 pounds, like it seemed like overnight, but it was a few years of just
steadily increasing.
Steadily increasing, no matter what I did, the diet, the exercise, it was just hormonal.
Okay.
So going back to you asking me what is menopause, it's like what happens is that the hormones start to change. And so your estrogen and progesterone levels, which regulate your menses, which regulate most of your, hormones, they start to decrease. And a lot of women will start to have symptoms, but their numbers, their estrogen progesterone numbers don't change. They stay within this range. And so the doctors will often say, oh, you're not in menopause yet, but your body's like, I beg to differ.
Yeah. So the fluctuations, it sounds like they're minute.
Yes.
Fluctuations. Yeah. And so they're not necessarily regularly, you can't track them necessarily unless can you do it specifically like from an in-depth hormone test?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I had several of those just to see where I was at, because it was so, like I said, for me, it was so intense. My memory loss, the depression, I started to take antidepressants.
Wow. So who knew? Like, this is so important because I had no idea that perimenopause or moving into menopause could bring about depression, could bring about, I don't know, night sweats. I thought I was getting the flu, or like, there's just so many of these symptoms that you're describing, the memory loss, like, and then we walk around thinking that there's something wrong with us.
There's something wrong with us as usual. And then of course, society, we're conditioned to believe there's something wrong with us.
Yes. Well, if you have a vagina. That's what's wrong with you.
And I wasn't raised around a lot of women who told me what to expect.
Yeah.
And the women that I did know didn't really talk about it. It was just kind of like, oh, I've got my private summers, and they don't talk about and when you get into menopause, they don't explain the vaginal dryness and the painful penetrative sex and, tight pelvic floor. And they don't know. I did, by doing my own research and talking to women like you and other women where we've had these roundtable discussions about our yoni system, our yoni verse. I have to share this. I'm like, okay, this needs to be shared, especially the anxiety. Now, when I talk about the depression early on, I took antidepressants because the very, very low dose of Prozac helped with the hot flashes. And that was at the suggestion of my gynecologist. Okay. It did help with the low level depression, but it definitely helped with the early onset of the hot flashes. So for me, that was the bonus. There are other holistic therapies that I tried. Because I wanted to be proactive. I wanted to try all the holistic stuff before I went to Western medicine.
Yeah.
Western medicine, was the ultimate, the last solution that I had.
And why was that for you?
I wanted my body to stay in as much natural state as possible. Yeah. I tried, you can research this. There's black cohosh, there's rose hips, there's St. John's wort. I recently discovered DHEA, which is magnificent, especially with the elasticity of the vaginal walls and the tonality of it. Yes, ma'am. And so, but I still had a very uncomfortable menopause, very uncomfortable. And so eventually I did have to go to HRTs or hormonal therapy replacement.
Yeah. So do you have a list of symptoms? Because I'd love to hear, like, if you're able to just outline, like, these are some symptoms of perimenopause into menopause that we may not necessarily recognize as symptoms.
I have a long list. And any of them, any of what I'm going to list off can be at any phase. And
Okay,
I
so
and
that's
I
important.
yes, at any
Yeah.
phase, and especially postmenopausal, because I'm postmenopausal now. Oh my gosh, 10 years, I think.
Wow.
But I still have like PMS. I still have like that week where I want to eat everything in sight, or I want to sleep, or I want to cry. And like, what? And I finally figured it out. It's like, oh, I'm still hormonal.
Yeah, I
Even
love how the biorhythms, right? The body, it's like, yes, exactly, is this rhythm. So I feel excited about that because I love my period week. I love my moon week, and
yeah,
to like go in and connect and take it easy and rest and that sort of thing. So I'm excited to know that on
yeah.
the other side of menopause, I still get to have my week of
Get
self-care
your
and
kind of
self-love.
ice cream, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so just some of the symptoms are hot flashes, the flushes, the night sweats. I used to keep a towel underneath my pillow because I would sweat so much, and change the sheets. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's different. The irregular periods, the mood swings, the vaginal dryness, decreased libido. So a lot of women you'll hear say they have no interest in sex, and they'll blow it off by saying, "And I don't need it,"
Yeah.
because they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know they can still be juicy and sexy and you know
Well, they don't know that sex is medicine.
right, that sex is medicine. There's there's headaches, breast soreness,
Ah.
yeah, burning mouth, joint pain. Joint pain was familiar to me. Digestive problems, electric shocks, like you'll have electric shocks. And I had a lot of that in my hands, my fingers, which was weird. Yeah, muscle tension. I think I talked a little bit about that, about like especially the pelvic floor. I just recently learned
Yeah.
about that. The tingling extremities, itchy, dry skin, fatigue, anxiety, disrupted sleep. That's a common one. That's a big one. You'll hear a
Okay,
lot of
so
women
it's not
say,
just stress from work.
no, you'll hear a lot of women say, I'm not sleeping. And then I'll question them, well, where are you in your cycle? Where are you in your, where are you in your pause? And I'll share with them things and they go, oh, that makes so much sense. Because you may fall asleep, but not stay asleep.
Yeah, yeah, the waking up at like,
Yeah,
1 in the morning or 3 in the
yeah.
morning kind of thing. I just thought it was my liver.
Yeah, yeah, your bladder is like, yeah. And so there's weight gain, there's hair loss. Some people have hair loss. Yeah, you'll notice. And I had some shedding for
Wow.
about a year or so, just shedding. And dizzy spells, bloating, dizzy spells being like you may stand up too fast and get a little dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
So your blood pressure kind of drops a little bit right there. The stress incontinence where you sneeze, you pee, you laugh, you pee, that kind of a thing. Brittle nails, allergies may develop all of a sudden. I know, I'm just telling you.
Wow.
Yeah, irregular heartbeat. And this one makes me laugh because I remember I didn't want to have this body odor and urine odor because I don't mean any offense, but I remember as a young person, young child, especially going around like older women, I go, Mom, they don't smell good, and it's like, I didn't know, but your body just, and your urine changes and takes on a different kind of odor, which that's when I started drinking yoni tea. I'm like, we're not having that. You know, you know,
Uh-uh.
you know,
Yoni tea from one of our
yeah.
other sexes medicine guests.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much. Panic disorder, osteoporosis is a big one, which is why we often hear medical professionals telling us to do more weightlifting to strengthen
Okay.
the bones, to strengthen the muscular structure so that we don't develop osteoporosis as women.
Okay.
That's a big one. That's why we do a lot of weight bearing exercises, even if it's just your own body weight. Um, and then I talked about the motor skill disruptions, bumping into things, dropping things, yeah, car accidents, being more um, unfocused is a word. Is that a word? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
distracted,
like a little bit
distracted.
ungrounded.
Yeah, distracted is what I'm looking for. Yeah, ungrounded. Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's just the tip of the symptoms. I'm sure other people have different ones that I didn't name, but Yeah.
Well, that's just blowing me away how some of these symptoms I would never attribute to menopause, like the brittle nails, again, the bumping into things,
yeah.
the memory loss, I would have never attributed specifically to menopause, because conventionally we hear, oh, the loss of libido and your estrogen drops and, vaginal drop. At least I've heard about that.
Mm,
But in terms of some of the more nuanced and subtle
mm,
that seem totally unrelated, some of those symptoms,
yeah.
my mind's just kind of blown a bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then how do we, what is the cause of all these symptoms? Like, what the heck is going on?
Mostly, like I said earlier about the hormonal changes, our adrenal glands, which kind of, and the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, all those main glands that help us function, they get overworked,
Ah.
fatigued. They start producing more cortisol. They start, not doing the things they need to help us stay regulated. So
Mm-hmm.
our whole body gets out of whack.
So it seems like doing therapies to address, it sounds like, like adrenal fatigue, so to speak, or glandular overwhelm. It
Yeah.
seems like doing things to help support the functioning of those systems would help alleviate some of the symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like less sugar, which
Less
is my,
sugar.
that's my drug of choice. You know,
Forget the weed. Give me the sugar. Weed's actually really good for you. So
less sugar, less white products, white flour, those things that put extra stress on the body, those common sense things that we've been hearing about: eating more whole foods, eating healthier, drinking more water, those things that help the body actually produce those hormones that after a certain age we stop producing.
So yeah, it seems as though like the Western diet, the typical Western diet, and the typical Western lifestyle, which is very yang and overdriven and
Yeah.
overextended, all of those are like the antithesis of what we need in order to kind of glide through this change of life with some ease and supporting our bodies. Because like you said, by the time we hit menopause in this society, we're depleted.
We are
Yeah.
definitely, good word. Yeah, we are so depleted. And you wonder why women are, get angry as we age, because we're tired.
Yeah. Exactly. We're tired of the bullshit.
We're tired.
You just sucked all my
We're
life.
tired. Yeah, and so I've talked about this before with our cultural conditioning that, we're shamed about our aging, the media shames us for being dry and brittle and dry and unsexy, and they want to push all these products at us that are sometimes even more harmful to the body, right?
Yeah.
Not non-organic or anything like that. So we have to be mindful of those things. I find I had to be mindful of those, making my own lube, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We don't celebrate it like some other cultures do.
Yeah. So
We
no
don't
rite of
have
passage.
no rite of passage. Yeah. So
Oh.
I always offer to create your own. I had to have um, a hysterectomy a few years back because my fibroids grew back, and
Mm-hmm.
because by then I was actually postmenopausal. So I started to spot. I started to bleed a little bit, and it was just spotting. And the medical professional said, "Well, if you continue to do this, then that is a precursor to cancer. So you should have a hysterectomy." Had I known about yoni steaming, I might have been able to save my uterus, because it was just a coagulation of old, that's my belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
old,
Just old gunk
just
coming
old.
out.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's so huge, because yoni steaming is literally under direct attack from some well-known Western med
Mm-hmm.
celebrity doctors, and like direct attack, like, oh my God, you're going to burn your vulva, because people with vulvas don't have enough sense to temperature check the water before they sit on top of it. Just
Like,
crazy stuff.
yeah.
And so, and Western, the typical Western medicine with women's health, or yoni owners' health, is like, let's rip and shred, right?
Right.
Like, just remove shit. You don't need it.
Yeah, you're not going to have any more kids, are you? No, don't want
Yeah,
any
just
kids
like,
now. You'll take it, And then what happened was that disrupted my hormonal cycle because they took the ovaries too.
well, yeah, they're taking your organs out of your body. Like, and how many people are just like, let's just remove the testicles. You don't need them anymore. You're not having any more babies. Let's just take the whole scrotum. Who needs it? It just gets in the way.
Yeah, yeah. Were you using that? No. Okay. Yeah.
It's a liability
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I had to go through a whole grief and a whole, that whole morning. And there are gifts to menopause, sure. Okay, one, you're not going to be able to bear any more children. Okay, that may be a gift unless you're mourning the fact that you never had any,
Yeah.
Which was my experience. And then two, the fact that if you're having loss of identity,
Yeah.
okay, now I equate menopause with being old.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. And when we're old, particularly for women in this Western society, we're of no use and no value anymore because the
Yeah.
society doesn't value our elders and the wisdom that we carry.
Yeah, they age us out. And you see that a lot in the cinematic industry, right? All
Yeah.
the older women get grandma and mother roles, and the guys are always paired up with these young women. It's same
Dude,
old,
like
same.
30 years they're junior. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So we're chipping away at that a little bit, but yeah, just not enough. But so I think that for me, a few years ago, actually, when I was introduced to authentic Tantra is when I celebrated my menopausal self, my age, the crone in me, the older woman in me. I discovered that I didn't have to feel unattractive, unsexy. It was just a lot of things that I was feeling that I realized I didn't have to. And
Yeah.
people like you and other people in our industry that shared with me, ways to overcome some of those things I was feeling,
Yeah.
especially not belonging.
Yeah.
My Sangha has proven to me that I belong over and over and over again.
And that's a huge one because we're communal beings, right?
Yeah.
We're social beings. So that feeling of belonging and
Mhm.
being accepted and embraced and honored is literally a biologically based need.
Yes.
It's a requirement for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm recently discovered though, through talking with some women, we were talking in a group about pelvic floor strength.
Yeah.
I discovered that contrary to what I was understanding about using yoni yoga and yoni eggs and that kind of a thing, that my pelvic floor is actually tight.
Yeah.
And so I'm researching now on ways how to release that tension. And one of those things is to not walk around all sucked up tight. Like,
Yes. Yes.
belly and ass tight, pelvic
Yeah.
floor, yeah, just a
Yeah.
constant, uh, for lack of a better word, Kegel position, just always tight. And it's like, okay, you can relax.
Well, and that's, I really believe that that is part of living in a culture that condones sexual violence towards women.
Mm,
Because I think a lot of that tightness is our armor. We've got to suck it in. We've got to suck in our bellies and stick out our chests in order to be attractive. But also,
yeah.
we literally walk around in hypervigilance
Yes.
because no matter our age or any of that, we are prey, and we live in a society that not only condones sexual violence towards women, but perpetuates it and
Mm,
encourages it. And so whether it's, one woman or all women, we're all affected and we're all subjected to that psychological and energetic, abuse, quite frankly,
yeah.
regularly. So the fact that there's so many yoni owners walking around with tight pelvic floors in this society, in this culture, is not a big surprise. We're in a fight or flight response. We're hyper, we're frozen in
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
locked in. Yeah.
So true. That's so true. That's it exactly. Not feeling safe,
Yeah.
not being able to walk down the street without being catcalled or, yeah.
Harassed,
Yeah,
right? We
harassed.
can't just be human. We have to be objectified,
Yeah.
right? we
Oh,
have to we have to serve somebody else's purpose.
ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the natural remedies, because we touched on them, but I'd love to have a little bit more detail. So there's like herbal remedies we can cover, and then there's like physical therapies, there's exercises we can do, some of which we do in Authentic Tantra. So what are some of the herbal remedies that you came across to help alleviate some of these undesirable side effects or symptoms of menopause?
The Epsom salt bath soaks helped a lot.
Wow. Okay.
Just drawing out some of the toxins and, just relaxing the body. I mentioned before, I use St. John's wort, and there's one product on the market that I used early in my menopausal life. I don't know if I'm not pushing it, but it's called Estroven. That worked for a little while. And
What
that
is
was
it called again?
Estroven.
Estroven. Okay.
And it's a soy-based product, so there's a lot of controversy about taking too much soy, because then you're risking the chance of breast cancer and that kind of a thing. But if it's in moderate doses for a moderate amount of time, there's no risk.
Okay.
It's just overextended use for a long period of time that you're actually open your body up to risk. And then still, that's not even enough. You could really not take enough to cause cancer in the body. That's just
So
from my
eating tofu every day is not going to give you breast cancer.
right. And that,
Yeah, that's good news.
drinking soy milk every day is not going to, there's not enough soy in that product unless you make it yourself. You know what I mean? But we all fall for it. It's like, okay, never mind. And all the sales went down and people like freaked out, and myself included, because I didn't do enough research. I didn't know,
Yeah, the
Um,
impact of media.
yeah. And so some of the other just drinking teas like ginger, ginger's my favorite. Ginger, like ginger lemon teas, anything that reduces inflammation.
Okay.
Turmeric teas, I love those teas, that just because my body responds well to those,
Okay.
because I tend to be highly inflammatory.
Okay.
So any teas that reduce inflammation, green teas are really good.
Mhm.
Um, what's the tea that's chamomile? The calming teas,
Mhm. Now, what
those.
about things like red raspberry? Because I know red raspberry leaf is good for menstruating women. It's good, supposedly good for your like reproductive health in general. But would it be specifically prescribed, do you think, for menopause?
I did not come across that in my research, but if it works for you, so be it. Everyone is going to do their own, because what works for one doesn't always work for the other.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
I just good to know that these things are Chinese medicine has a lot of different, like if you go to an acupuncturist or an herbalist that specialize in naturopaths, I believe it is, that specializes in that, then they can also give you different combinations of herbs that would probably work for work for
Yeah.
you.
So some of the things I've heard are black cohosh root,
Yeah, yeah, black
wild
cohosh.
yam.
Yeah, wild yam. Wild yam usually comes in a cream.
Okay. And that's
um
progesterone, right? Is
That's
that
progesterone, and it's usually rubbed on the wrist or in the lower back.
okay?
Did not quite work for me, but other women, because of mine, like I said, mine was a little bit more severe. Um, Rose hips,
Okay.
St. John's wort, and the DHEA especially.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So those are some like supplemental therapies. What about physical things that you found have been really supportive for you in not just alleviating menopausal symptoms, but also reclaiming your juicy? Because that's one of the big, I guess, losses, right? Is that we like, we're supposed to be these sexy, lubricious, if that's a word, beings, during our fertile years. And then when we stop menstruating, then we dry up and we're, like little raisins, right? And so getting that lubrication, that sense of lubrication,
Yeah.
internal lubrication, is important for our sense of embodiment, I think.
Well, yeah. When I came to Authentic Tantra, I was just void. I wasn't feeling sexually, mentally, emotionally. I had just come through a series of events that just left me, void. And so the first thing I wanted to do was reclaim my sexy. And so some of the physical things I did was cultivating self-pleasure. I signed up for, Tantra Mastery and learned how to, cultivate sexual pleasure and reclaim that juiciness, and then practicing yoni yoga with the yoni eggs and the I call it sexergenics that you teach, you know that.
I love that. Sexergenics. I've never heard of that word. I love it. Sexergenics. I love that.
Yeah, it's it's movement with meditation and getting loosening that pelvic core, that pelvic girdle was
Yeah.
so important,
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
definitely. And then just basic walking, running, dancing. Dancing, especially for me, because that's one of my meditative outlets. And so dancing helped. What else? There's so many other, well, and then sex.
Exactly. It's medicine. Sex. Well, because all of these things that we're mentioning help balance the hormones. And I know like 13 years ago when I first started studying Tantra and yoni eggs and all of that, something that really stuck out to me was that yoni eggs or yoni exercises, vaginal toning exercises using stones, was one of the primary therapies in the Taoist tradition for preventing, not even alleviating menopausal symptoms, but preventing them from happening whatsoever. And one of the benefits of doing these vaginal toning exercises, that they said, was balancing your hormones. And I know that came under attack from Western science saying there's no way that exercising your vagina is going to balance your hormones. But here's the thing. If going for a jog is going to balance my hormones, like this is documented fact that any kind of exercise at all helps balance the hormones. So
Yeah.
if I'm exercising my bicep, it's going to balance my hormones. So if I'm exercising my vagina, which also, my pelvic floor, which is a bunch of muscles, that should also balance my hormones as well. So it's kind of like a default of the actual exercise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so there's other, moving into what else can we do?
Yeah.
We have the 4 pillars, the 4 pillars in the Tantra that to me is like magic, because it's every facet of each pillar is so medicinal. And so meditation, calms us down. I discovered that using, if you're familiar with the 5 elemental practices, then water, because it governs, blood, sweat, and tears, lymph system, so practicing water element really helps, especially because if you're agitated or just, or you just need some clarity because we get so bogged down with what do I do next?
Yeah.
The water element really helps me with that stuff. And then fire, because I want to, set myself on fire, literally.
Yeah. And activate your sexual reproductive system.
Yes, and activate that. Because even though my womb is empty, I still have the system.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, you've got the energy body in place.
Energy is still there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that is really what drew me to authentic tantras, because when I met you and you gave us at this retreat a fire element exercise, and we had to put that ball of fire in our womb, in our sexual chakra, it makes me cry even now.
Wow.
Because it activated that space within me that I thought was dead.
Oh, wow.
It just, like I said, it literally just turned me on. It lit up that fire that I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. There's life.
Yeah.
There's life down there.
Yeah. And such life. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
How you've blossomed.
Yeah. So meditation is a big part of helping to regulate and balance hormones, and it's been documented, right? I mean,
like there's so many articles. It's like, I feel pointless in saying science, because there's been so many articles on it. But like one of the things that's standing out to me is the increase in cortisol, which is the weight gain. And one of the main antidotes to increasing cortisol is meditation, mindfulness practice, soothing, because stress increases cortisol. And so meditation is the antidote to stress.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about movement, yeah, we talked about all that and the sexogenics and the dance and the yoni yogas and yeah, so all that, and, oh, I will squirrel out. So don't let me squirrel. I will go like down that other, I'll go like, oh,
Get that
squirrel.
nut. Get
Yeah.
that nut.
Because
Well, I want to talk about the sexual pleasure and
yeah,
how
yeah,
that helps you with
yes.
this, because that's the missing component, right? It's like our libido goes away and we don't want to have sex, and yet sex is the best medicine for this. So what did you experience with that?
Yes, well, what I discovered was one, the good hormones, the endorphins, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the dopamine, the good juicy stuff is what I crave is a good word.
Yeah.
It's like I really want to have that feeling. And if I am out of disconnected, if I'm not feeling connected to self, then cultivating sexual pleasure, self pleasure is the first thing I can do to raise those hormonal levels, the good hormones.
Wow.
Right.
Like, okay, so let's just pause there. So when you're feeling not, when you're not feeling connected to yourself, one of the most effective ways to reconnect and boost your mood and your hormone levels is through sexual self-connection.
Yes, ma'am. I'm kind of like, doesn't everybody?
No, I mean, I know that and you know that, but I'm just like from the standpoint of like a regular Western world, because again, how discouraged we are as yoni owners to touch ourselves,
Oh my
to
God, yeah.
pleasure ourselves, to be, it's
And
always about our man or our partner, right?
partners or I don't have someone. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've offered to clients and friends that when they feel disconnected from the self is to just set aside those few minutes. It doesn't have to be a long period of time, but just go say hello to your yoni.
Yeah. Hello, yoni.
Yeah, hello. And they still go, yeah, I don't feel like it. I'm like, can I just tell you the first time I did that, the first exercise that I did that was required of me in my program was to, cultivate sexual pleasure. I cried because my yoni was like, finally, you're touching me in a non-threatening, get it over with way.
Yeah, without a demand.
Yeah,
Bitch, you better work.
exactly.
Poor
Exactly.
yonis.
Exactly. So, we have room to grow. There's more to do. And then when the connection we talked about, another way is to do pleasure journaling or just what am I feeling? What do I need journaling? What am I feeling?
Yeah,
What
it's
do I
huge
need?
because we're taught to avoid our feelings and
Oh,
ignore them and push them away because they're irrational, as opposed to really being present and examining and giving
yeah,
them voice.
yeah. And we're not really encouraged to meet our own needs. You
Particularly
know,
as yoni owners.
yeah. Somebody else has to meet that need, or we're just going to go without. And
Yeah.
what I've learned these last few years is that when I can meet my need, it really relieves you of the pressure of having to meet that need.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to, now it's like you have a choice if you want to, and if you say you can't, then at least I know,
Hmm.
but at least I can ask.
Well, that's hugely empowering because it takes the pressure off of our relationships. It's like if I'm responsible for meeting my own needs and I know that I can, I've got confidence that I can, then I'm inviting you to join me in this experience as opposed to making you responsible.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's going to take a lot of pressure off. That's going to change the dynamic of the relationship.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's occurring to me as we're talking about this, how much of what we consider to be these normal symptoms of menopause, how much of them are a result of the Western lifestyle?
Hmm.
How much of them are a result of living out of balance our entire lives?
I would say a lot of them. Just thinking about how we're conditioned, this Western culture, women are conditioned to just give, 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 give. You know,
Mhm.
the children, the family, the parents, we are the last to get.
Yeah.
So by the time it's our turn, like I said, we're so tired. We're like, yeah, whatever, I'll get it later.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it later. It's like And so it's time for us to put ourselves first. We've been saying that for a few years now, and I adopted that whole put the mask on yourself first before you put on someone else. One flight I was on, I was like, oh my God.
I got it. That's what they mean. In every area of life, mask up.
Every area of my life, because I still, but not as much, suffer from that disease to please. I want to please everybody. I want to make everybody happy. And then I get resentful.
Yeah.
So learning how to take care of myself without harming anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, it's not taking from another to give to myself. And again, that's the zero sum game of Western society is, if I give to myself, it means I'm taking from somebody else. Right. Mm-hmm. And then also as women, we're conditioned to not only give, like you said, but then if we take anything for ourselves, we're being selfish.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right. Taking 20 minutes to pleasure myself without, my partner or my children or my job or my whatever would be like, when I first started, I was like 20 minutes and 20 minutes is just getting started. But I was like, oh my God, that's over. What I'm going to masturbate for 20. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's a long time. Yeah.
I could be, that's so unproductive.
What I could be doing in 20 minutes. Yeah.
No.
And now it's like 20 minutes, like you said, some days it's not long enough. And some days it's like, oh my God, when's it going to be over? It just depends where you are.
Yeah.
But at least you take that time.
Yeah. To nourish. And that's what I'm hearing in terms of Tantra and menopause. It's like, it's this imperative to nourish.
Oh my gosh.
Nourish the body, nourish the heart, nourish the soul in this new way. It's a way, it's like, it's in many ways, it could be a celebration. Like, yay, I don't ever have to worry about getting pregnant again. If I know that I don't want to be having babies, right? I don't have to worry about that. And yay, I don't have to go through like 7 days of fatigue and whatever. And yet we're so conditioned in the society to view it as the end of our worth and value to society because we can't pop other human beings out of our uterus anymore.
Yeah. And also with the nurturing thing that made me remember is that as we move through this life thing, and like the Chinese medicine call it our second spring, right?
Yeah, I love that.
It's just like, I love that part. I've discovered through Tantra that sexual union, love making, not just fucking, is so much more slower.
Yeah.
So much more, you're much more present. And so it's much more almost methodical where you're, both people or three people, however many people, but everybody involved is present. And there's no goal in sight. And that's what menopause is. It's the body begging to slow down, right? To enjoy, to soak this pleasure up, to take a look at your life and go, what do I want to do now? What pleases me?
Wow. So it's a maturation.
Yes.
And as you're saying that, what's coming to mind is that when I've worked with clients who are in menopause or, recently encountered menopause, their sex has to change as a result of the changes in their body. And what I've observed is that they're like, when our yonis are just wet and juicy all the time because we got all these hormones, we can override our bodies in order to think that we're meeting needs. Like, okay, well, I don't want to keep my husband engaged, so I'm going to have sex with him, or I want to keep my boyfriend engaged, so I'm going to have sex with him. So the body may not actually want to have sex, but the mind does, or you think you have to. You're having sex not because the body's yearning for it necessarily, but because the mind thinks you have to. It's conditional sex. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but most women that I've spoken to, it's like, have you ever had sex with your partner when you didn't really want to, just to keep them happy? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, we're able to do that when we're not having menopausal things. But what I've observed is that when we move into menopause, we have to be present with the body.
Oh,
You
yeah.
cannot, because of the causes and conditions that are arising, you cannot override that impulse. So if the body, if the yoni is like, fuck no, we had a stressful day, I do not want to just rip my pants off and get fucked right now. If I want an hour of foreplay, right?
Yeah.
like we can't override that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the causes of suffering, is that we're so used to being able to just fuck through it, so to
Yeah.
speak, just disregard and just, do the thing that we're supposed to be doing. But with menopause and these changes in the body, we have to listen.
Absolutely. And
That's huge.
and when I became, because I wasn't sexually active for many years, and then when I became sexually active, that was the first thing I became aware of. It's like, oh yeah, we can't do that fasting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It hurts. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. It was like I disconnected. I was off making the laundry list. It's like, oh,
And that's
it's
all
much
stuff that
different.
you may have done before, but you were able to just disregard it because it was just normal. But when
Yeah.
our body is like, this hurts, you can't ignore that anymore.
Not at
Yeah.
all. And that's when I really started to seek out remedies. It's like, okay, what
Yeah.
really does this body need?
Yeah. What is this
All
body?
women, to do that, to do an inventory of their own body. Because like I just keep saying, it's not the same for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I want to say, I think that that's part of the thing with Western medicine is, and I, we talk, Western medicine has its uses, but it is not God. It does not reign supreme.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really sick people that are getting sicker as a result of Western medicine. So it's very limited in its scope. And I
Mhm.
think that, with Western medicine, it's like there's a pill for it. It's a it's a cure all that they just kind of throw this one size fits all. And as we're discussing, it's so individual, right?
Mhm.
It's like the stressors and the things that are going to disrupt or, support your hormonal functioning down in California are different things that I'm experiencing up here in BC. And so there's going to be similarities in the way the bodies work, the basic function, but the nuances, the
Mhm.
individuation of what's specific and good for me and beneficial for me is going to be different than for you. And that's the beauty of holistic or alternative medicines, is we can really get in there and fine tune things based on individual needs.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because now we have this platform that you share with everybody, that sex is medicine, pleasure as medicine, and we get to share these different remedies and think, oh, I haven't tried that yet. There's another one that I'm trying. It's called Julva, Julva.
Oh yeah, I've
And
heard of
so,
that.
yeah, it's amazing. I think this is the one for me.
Okay.
It's all herbal. It's all it's just it's I can't even describe it. It's just wonderful so far. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. And are these like suppositories or
It's a
supplements?
cream. It's a
Cream.
cream, and you only use about a pea size. But for me, because my issue was specific to the introitus, I was having
Oh,
extreme pain
yeah.
around the introitus. That it's helped to what's the word when you rehydrate.
Rehydrate, rejuvenate.
Yes, I've rejuvenated that whole interior of the vaginal canal for me. And so it's and the vulva is a lot more plumper now and a lot more fuller. Yeah. But the pain,
Yes.
that's the first thing I noticed was after about 4 or 5 days, the pain that there's no pain.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah,
And
so I love this idea of again holistic combining. So
Mhm.
you're using this topical cream that's bringing this juice, and you're also meditating.
Yes.
That's soothing and calming and doing this internal balance. And you're also moving to help lubricate the joints and lubricate the body and support the
Yeah.
functioning. And then you're doing this sexual pleasure stimulation to reclaim your pleasure. And again, the sexual stimulation is going to produce all these wonderful hormones and chemicals and all of that that's going to help make everything plumper inside and
Yeah.
out. And then you're using this topical cream, and then you have a healthy diet and lifestyle. So that's what we mean by holistic. We mean all of it. We mean
All
inside,
of it.
outside, the whole package, body, mind, spirit, and sex.
Inside outside same. And so yeah, and and the yoni yoga, the yoni eggs too,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
for me. That's I'm not yeah, yeah,
Well, yeah, that's it. Because the yoni yoga, that in my mind, that falls under movement because I do that all together. But I have to say to the audience, my friends, if you are suffering at any point in your life from low libido, a week of yoni yoga is going to correct that. Oh my God. And in terms of lubricating the vaginal canal and the vaginal walls and, squirting and fluids and all of that, the vaginal toning exercises using crystals, using specifically rose quartz or jade, is just an incredible remedy. I've experienced it many times of falling off the yoni yoga wagon and then climbing back on and being like, oh my God, my yoni's lit. It makes you wonder why I fall off.
I thought it was just me that I fall off. Okay, I'm so glad you said that.
No, yeah, up and on. It's contrast. We're doing a double blind study. We got to make sure all the time. Yeah, yay. Well, it's been so wonderful to connect with you about this, Sequita. So, anything else you want to share about your journey with menopause with our audience?
That don't give up. There's hope. There's remedies, there's solutions, there's a whole community of us that would, love to talk to you about it. You're not alone. You're just not alone. And you're certainly not crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love that. And that there's absolutely hope for pleasurable, enjoyable, sexual life after menopause. And again, that's very contrary to what some Western medicine professionals have told women. I've literally heard women.
And that's what happens, just really quickly, is that, our society, this Western society especially, as soon as a woman says she's not interested, she has no libido, he goes off and finds somebody else. He doesn't even want to help her find a solution, doesn't even want to stay present to walk through that together. And that's what I really offer, is that I was going to say that when I squirreled out, was that the men really need to become just as educated, because if they want their relationship to grow and move through this journey, because it is a journey together, then they need to learn as well. And men have their own andopause.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother day.
Well, and I love that you're bringing in this piece of the male partners when we're in heterosexual relationships, because again, society teaches us, oh, well, this is women's business.
Yeah.
But if we're together in partnership, my business affects your business and your business affects my business. So this is actually our business, particularly if we're talking about sex.
Yeah.
This is definitely an our business conversation. So I love you highlighting the importance of our male partners when we're in heterosexual relationships, our male partners being educated about this change of life and how they can support this process.
Yeah. And actually, that goes through, it doesn't matter if it's non-binary, trans, trans male, whatever, if you're in a relationship with a yoni owner, it would be really helpful for you to know and understand, rather than, hide yourself in the sand and don't, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Well, this is part of the glory of what it is to have a vulva and a vagina. It's an honor. And it's work. It requires care and attention. Yay. So how can people find out more about you and get a hold of you and all that good stuff?
Oh, they can get a hold of me through the Institute of Authentic Tantra Education. I am a Tantra Mastery instructor, and you can reach me at my website at simply-tantra.com or sequita@gmail.com.
Wonderful. So yes, Sequita is one of our newest faculty members at the Institute of Authentic Tantra Education. So if you would like to go through our Tantra Mastery training program for personal or professional use, to move on to phase 2, the certification program, then please feel free to reach out to her at authentictantra.com. And then if you want to work with Sequita privately, through simply-tantra.com, you can find her there, sequita@gmail.com. And it's just such a pleasure to share space with you always.
I hope we covered everything.
Well, if we don't, then we'll just do another show.
It's
We'll just
been
keep doing
wonderful.
shows until we're talked out. Thank you all for listening again for another episode. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them into us at connect@authentictantra.com. We really love answering your questions. And I do intend to put back on the board once a month, Ask a Sexologist show where we have Sequita as well as other members of our Tantra community, our certified sexologists, come on and answer your questions. So go ahead and shoot them to us at connect@authentictantra.com. Make sure that you subscribe to this show in YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all the major podcasting networks, because it gives me a boost and I love it and I appreciate it greatly. It makes me very happy, and happy Davies are a good thing. And then make sure that you stay connected with us on social media at Authentic Tantra, on Instagram and Facebook, and visit us at authentictantra.com if you want to work with any of our very esteemed and brilliant professionals that we promote there through that website, authentictantra.com. Thank you once again for joining us this evening, and I look forward to having you tune in next week at 7 p.m. Pacific for another episode of Sex is Medicine.